Good morning. Welcome to the Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whoever you are and wherever you have come from, for this hour, we here are one gathered congregation and all are welcome. I invite you to follow along in the order of service. For those of you attending virtually, all the links for this service, including the order of service, are on our website and in this morning's worship service email. If you're here in the sanctuary this morning, please silence your cell phones. My name is Liz Roberts. I've been coming to KUUF since the mid-1990s. This is a really special place for me and for my family. I am particularly excited to be your lay leader this morning and to participate in this morning's worship service and the workshop after, since it was precisely almost to the day 3 years ago when our beloved child came out to us as a trans guy, and the organizations that our speaker leads have been particularly helpful to us on our family's journey. Our worship leader this morning is Aidan Key. He traveled to be with us this morning from his home in Juneau, Alaska. Aidan is a nationally recognized speaker, author, and educator whose work centers on gender-diverse children. Aidan is the founder of Gender Diversity and works nationally with hundreds of K-12 schools and youth-based agencies providing professional development, strategic planning, policy development, guidance on athletics, and education for parents and students. Aidan is also the leader of Trans Families, a national organization that provides important support and resources for families of gender-diverse children of all ages. Personal testimony, the help and the support have been wonderful. In person, online, Zoom, phone calls. Aidan has also appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Larry King Live, DiversityIS, and NPR's Fresh Air. He is a contributing author to both editions of Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, and has an upcoming book, Trans Children in Today's Schools. This is scheduled for publication by Oxford University Press in March 2023. It's a real privilege to have you here this morning, Aidan. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are visiting. We are really glad that you are here this morning. If you're here in person, we would love to welcome you and greet you outside after the service. If you're attending virtually, please introduce yourself after the service at our Zoom coffee hour. We would love to meet you. Everyone is welcome to attend our Zoom coffee hour directly after this service. The link is in the email that went out this morning and will show on your screen following this worship service. And you may need to use that super secret password, coffee, spelled with a capital C, to be admitted to the coffee hour. There'll be a quiz later. The announcements are available on our website, www.kuuf.org, or in our weekly email newsletter, The Candle. I'd like to extend a special invitation to those of you here this morning to attend the workshop that's happening immediately after the service today at 11:45, right here in the sanctuary. Aidan will be leading today a short but important workshop on understanding gender diversity in children. It'll be an interactive time, and he will help us guide our understanding about the challenges faced by gender diverse children and their families, and you are all welcome. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the Aboriginal territory of the Suquamish people. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Suquamish live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Suquamish live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Now, please stand as you're willing and able to sing our musical call to worship, hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. It is in our gray hymnal, and we will sing along to the video where the words will also appear on the screen. Join me now in lighting our chalice. If you have your own chalice or candle at home, please light it as I read our chalice lighting words from the Passover Haggadah. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Please join me in the spoken affirmation. The words will appear on the screen. We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. Now, Melinda Hughes, our Director of Religious Exploration, will share our time for all ages.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's so good to see you here, and I have to say I am so grateful for this topic today because I've been wanting to read this book. And so I get to read this book. This book is written by an author named Scott Stewart. He's from Australia, and if you look up his website, it says right there in huge letters, "Help your kids discover, accept, and love their truest selves." And as we know, our first principle is all people have inherent worth and all people have inherent worth and dignity. And you are all truly loved, and I'm so glad you joined us today. I'm especially glad I noticed some people we met at the Pride Festival yesterday who are here for the first time joining us. So welcome. So this story is called My Shadow is Purple, and he wrote this for his son, Colin. And it says for Colin, "You are loved exactly as you are." My dad has a shadow that's blue as a berry, and my mom's is as pink as a blossoming cherry. There's only those choices, a 2 or a 1, but mine is quite different. It's both, and it's none. If theirs are straight, then mine is a circle, for my shadow's different. My shadow is purple. My shadow loves playing with all sorts of toys, things loved by girls and things loved by boys. I dance with the pinks as they turn and they spin, and play sports with the blues as they lose and they win. Some of my friends think I'm simply confused, but the thing I love most is not having to choose. Some tell me I'm blue, only blue can be strong, but my mom's strong too, so I think they're wrong. Some tell me I'm pink, 'cause pink's the most caring, but Dad's always crying and loving and sharing. Why can't I love sports and dancing and trains and ponies and glitter and engines and planes? Why must I choose and exclude all the rest? I love choosing both because both is the best. And now it is time for the greatest event. The school dance is here. The invite's been sent. I'm ready to rock and I'm feeling cute. My mom made my skirt and my dad made my suit. I bounce through the door and gasp as I enter. The room is split in two right down the center. Blue shadows go left and pink shadows go right. Once we're split up, we'll kickstart this night. Everyone laughs as they head to their zones, and right in the middle, I'm left all alone. I look to the left where the shadows are blue. They wave me over saying, "You are blue too." Then I look to the right as I struggle to think. They call me over, "Come on, you are pink." The teacher walks up looking rather amused. "I know you are different, but now you must choose." My heart just starts racing and tears fill my eyes. I know I must choose, but don't understand why. The room has gone quiet and everyone's looking. My cheeks are so red they feel like they're cooking. If I cannot be purple, then I cannot stay. I'll leave and go home, I quietly say. I slowly start walking. My legs are like jello. A voice breaks the silence. "My shadow is yellow." My eyes open wide, my shadow, it gawks. A child walks to the middle, looks up and talks. There's more than two colors our shadows can be. I was too scared before, but blue is not me. I know from outside blue fits like a glove, but my shadow's yellow, which to me feels like love. They turn with a smile and take hold of my hand. "Who wants to join us? There's room here to stand." At first, no one moves. Then, a hand's in the air. "My shadow's as brown as a big grizzly bear." "My shadow is red. Mine's silver. Mine's green. Mine's violet. Mine's orange. Mine's aquamarine." They all rush to join us, whatever their color. Blue, pink, and purple, and shadows called other. I look at each shadow, no two are the same. On each happy face, there's no trace of shame. Each different and special and fully unique. No color's stronger and no color's weak. The teacher comes over as we're joined as one. Whatever your color, start dancing, have fun. So, what a lovely book. It was just published in June. And if you're interested, again, the author's name was Scott Stewart. He has another book called My Shadow is Pink, and a nice little short video about the little boy whose shadow is pink. It's just lovely. So if you could please join me, Riley and I are going to head out now. So can you go ahead and stand and sing us out?
Thank you, Melinda. Our next hymn is number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. This was written by UU musician Grace Lewis McLaren, who has served our faith in many different roles for numerous congregations. McLaren wrote Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky to support the theme of the 1988 UU General Assembly in Palm Springs, California, where it was first sung as part of that year's opening ceremony. Please stand as you're willing and able to sing hymn 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. It's in your gray hymnal. Now it's time for our morning offering. If your offering is for KUUF, please put it into the envelopes in the baskets. Loose change, cash, or checks placed in the baskets will go to this month's recipient of our charitable giving, which is the Bremerton Food Line. If this is your first time at KUUF, you are our guest and there is no need to contribute. Let there be an offering to strengthen and sustain our community, which is sacred to so many of us. Let's enjoy a gift of music from our pianist, Brian Kenny, as he plays Ceciliane by Robert Schumann. Now is the time for our joys and sorrows. When shared together, our joys are amplified and our sorrows are lessened. We have a joy this morning from Hilda Berlinguet. I'm happy that my husband Roger survived a heart attack last Wednesday and was released to go home on July 22nd. He is now recuperating at home. A sorrow shared this morning from Jeanette Wool for the loss of my nephew Robert, who had a troubled and painful life. May he be at peace. A sorrow shared by Brian Watson this morning for all our beloved friends from the KUUF community who have passed on in the last couple of years. I miss them. A joy shared this morning from Bonner for the life of Reverend Charles Hawes, an Episcopalian priest in North Carolina who first taught me the importance of social justice work. He was the most Christ-like person I ever met. And we light one final candle for those joys and sorrows that are still too tender to share. Please join me now in a moment of prayer or intention. In the spirit of community in which we find strength and common purpose, we share our joys, our sorrows, our hopes, and our dreams. We have turned our minds and hearts toward one another in trust, giving love, seeking comfort, and celebrating together. We are part of the web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. In all the moments of our lives, for those loved ones and events shared this morning, and for those yet that we hold in the silence of our hearts, we are truly grateful for the love and support of this beloved community. May the spirit of life and love bring peace to us all. Amen, and blessed be. Please remain seated as we sing Spirit of Life, hymn 123 in our gray hymnal. There is no need to stand for this. For those of you at home, the words will appear on your screen. Please join me in a moment of reflection, which will be followed by our post-reflection music. our speaker, Aidan Key.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to start off by thanking Alan and Ellen for hosting me, opening their home and their hearts to me. It's a lovely time. And thank you all for welcoming me into this house of worship. I will say that my relationship with houses of worship has been complicated, difficult, and also joyous. So I think this time will fall into that latter category. So again, thank you. Looking at the clock, knowing I'm a tad nervous, despite Oprah, Larry King, Terry Gross, those folks were easy. This is more real to me. So again, thank you. I'm going to share a little bit about my journey with you all. I want you to know that I started out on the planet next to my identical twin sister. We were coming of age, growing up in the late 60s, early 70s. It's a bit of a bumpy ride for a single mom, trying to raise two kids and ultimately taking us from our initial home in Michigan to California, which was a good fit for a young woman during that time. Not so much for a young woman raising two children by herself. So she kept us moving, and we landed in Alaska. There we found a faith community that welcomed her and welcomed us into the fold, mostly. Thinking about a divorced woman with two children was, it was more stigmatized than today. And we as children, we felt that. I felt that. So did my sister, and I know my mother did. One of the ways that occurred, or the way that manifested, was at times I could, as a not traditional female expressing child, wearing dresses and skirts and that kind of thing was not a pleasant experience. And most of the time, my church was tolerant of that. Occasional special occasions, Mother's Day, Easter, things like that. My mom, with sympathy, said, this is how it's going to go. And bless her so deeply for allowing me to bring a change of clothes to have in the car, which I would then race out the door, change in the car, and then come back in. It seems like a small thing, but nevertheless, it was perhaps a lifesaver to know that she understood part of who I am, regardless of whether she had language to describe that. Let's see. I got to make sure I can read my own writing here. It's been a while since pen went to paper. At 9 years old, it was one of those days. I don't remember which, if it was Mother's Day or Easter. But I'm in that time in between the Sunday school service and the afternoon church service. And there's this tiny window of time where that dress is on and I'm back against the wall in the lobby area, wishing that wall would kind of open up and swallow me so that this distress and this incongruence would not be visible to others. I also felt like the other kids would make fun of me because they also knew that wasn't a fit for me, regardless of how we talked about gender. But nevertheless, I'm looking around and I notice a young couple with two children, two little kids running around, and I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess at 9 years old, I'm recognizing I'm going to grow up. Society and my church and the world expects me to get married and have a family. And I thought, yeah, I want that. And as I looked at these two people, I thought, but wait a minute. I'm the father. I'm the husband. How is this? I will grow up, and people will only see mother and wife. And knowing that in that moment, that what I was feeling inside in my heart was utterly impossible. And what does a 9-year-old do with that impossibility except sink into despair? I tucked that away. I didn't talk to anybody about that and did my best to move forward in life. And I have a loving family. They would have listened, but would they have understood? Would they have comprehended? Probably not. I could hardly understand it myself. So I made my way forward in life. And I think somewhere around 11, 12 years old, I remember a time of feeling really connected to my spirituality, really having a powerful relationship with God and wanting to be that best person that I could be. And what does that mean, and how does that look? And I'm thinking about this as I go to elementary school and then to middle school and trying to embrace the values that I was learning about and that were important to me. And that lasted a little while. At some point, the gender journey was too crushing, and the only thing that seemed to relieve that in any kind of way was a lot of alcohol and drugs. So I dove into that as a young, in my high school years and as a young adult. I went hard and fast and fell down within a good 5-year period and thought, this is not who you are. And what do I do about it? I did not want to do anything about it because I knew the path that I'd been instructed in my upbringing. When you don't know what to do about a situation, you turn it over to God, you pray, and you don't pray for the answer you want, you pray for the answer that needs to come. And so I had to get to a place in time where I was ready to hear whatever answer that might be. And knowing that as I stepped into that process, the answer that I might get is, well, this is the way it goes, and I need you to toe the line. If that means you're alone your entire life, if that means that you deny who you are on the inside, I knew that that could be a possible answer. And I had to get to a place of being ready to hear that. I did finally step into that. What I got back was something quite different, though. That was honesty matters. Who you are in your heart matters. That the courage to be truthful to that matters. And even in the face of massive public opinion otherwise, this is your path. I did step in. It's been bumpy, it's been complicated, but I found as I moved along that I got affirmations for that path. So, okay, well, fantastic. Now what? Well, having put more of that destructive behavior behind me, that was helpful, and everything else felt a little bit like feeling my way. But the basic message that I got is that I am God's creation, and that means all of me, inside and out. That I needed to step up, again, with honesty and authenticity, and then find the courage to step into that. So how do I do that? Well, ultimately what I've done is really work to find that 12-year-old rich spiritual experience that I felt in my heart and throughout my whole being, working to find that again. And it's been a relatively solo journey, because my assumption, there's no faith community that has room for someone like me. I'm learning that that's not the case. You're a pretty accommodating crowd thus far. Thank you for that. But as I've stepped forward, my conversation and my sharing and my communing and my fellowship with others has really brought about some surprising things. And the way I work to step into that is by being compassionate of those who I encounter. Compassionate regardless of what they're experiencing, or especially because of what they're experiencing. Being open-hearted, that takes work. That takes regular, consistent effort and persistence. Doing so without judgment and loving people, even in their struggles, even in their hard struggles where it can be hard to love them. Sometimes it's easier to love from a little further distance back. But now I'm in a position of stepping in with families all over the nation who have gender diverse children, so transgender children, non-binary identified, and any other number of identifiers that these folks use, and stepping in with the parents and the caregivers and the grandparents in their lives. So how does compassion towards them work? Well, one example is one of the fathers that I've encountered who has an adult age transgender daughter. So his son said, "I'm not your son, I'm your daughter," at 20-something years old. And the anger and the pain and the contempt that this man had for transgender people is now part of his journey with his daughter. And his resistance is understandable. So meeting him with compassion is what's, if anything, will help him find his way to connect and stay with his daughter. Part of that journey, I hope, is my job to be that, show that compassion for that difficulty. What's open-heartedness look like? Well, it means staying with the parent who comes to a support group, who month after month after month, maybe actually now a couple years, the person I'm thinking of, has hardly modified his story, his pain. It's as if it's still fresh, as if just a few days ago, his child told him that he was transgender. So being open-hearted to his journey. And what do I know about that type of journey? I know that they turn. They shift. It's same, and then different. It's brilliant. It's amazing. It's startling. And it's really beautiful. So that's open-heartedness. Non-judgment means encountering a family who parents are from China, recently moved to the US, and their teenager says, "Hey, by the way, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a transgender boy." And this family has no context for this. They weren't familiar with even the terms lesbian or other terms like that, much less transgender. Their cultural differences and their dead end that they kept hitting meant that the only course of action they could think of was to kill their child and then kill themselves. They fortunately did not do that. But if that's the experience a family moves through, then that much pain means they need zero judgment from me. And then love, finding that love for anyone and everyone. We have a pretty volatile time with respect to who trans people are in this society. It's really become more visible. It's become more elevated in our national dialogue, and sadly, far more visible in legislative sessions with bills attempting to hide and or eliminate trans people and our experiences and the families of those children. So how do I find love in my heart for even those experiences, people who are involved in those experiences? I know that those people putting those bills before legislatures are simply people who have yet to have a trans child in their own life or a transgender family member, because otherwise they would be in significant turmoil as well. Yet these goals of mine, the compassion, the open-heartedness, the non-judgment, it's a lot easier to do it out there in the world than it is to apply it to myself. I have spent time internalizing every single message that I ever indirectly, mostly, or directly received, and it has a very insidious effect in terms of me alone with me and my value as a human. My belief is shaken at times. Am I God's creature? Am I loved and embraced? So that's the harder task. When I think about my journey and understanding who gender diverse people are, those messages that showed up for me and I guess it's been almost 25 years ago since I stepped into my adventure. Trans people are ugly, sick, sexually deviant, mentally ill, unlovable, and expendable people. Those specters circle around all the time, and looking them in the face and saying, not today. No, you need to, that thought, that feeling, I need to find my core sense of self again. And so applying those practices to myself is a harder lift, I gotta say. Almost daily I encounter families who have trans children who are struggling with those same messages. Like I described that one father and his definite sense of who trans people are with his beloved child. Absolutely does not go together. So as they navigate their anger, their resistance, they're fearful for their child's future, and they're also grieving a child that they thought they knew and feel like now they don't know. Sometimes families feel like a new person is going to come take their child's place. If they stay in the game, they realize, no, that's not the case. My child is still there. But they're negotiating these feelings not in isolation. They're negotiating them with their immediate family, extended family, within their local communities, within their faith communities. And so many of them either will say themselves or hear from others, God doesn't make mistakes. Your child is born a boy, your child is born a girl, end of story. That's how it goes. But what I feel like moves people through their understanding is not so much looking at somebody like me. Well, Aidan, whatever. You can decide whatever you want. I'm an adult, and those negative messages can stick to me. Well, there's something wrong with him. Or, yeah, I don't want my children around that. Whatever might either be subconsciously or more consciously part of that. It's easier to have that stick with me. But if you're looking into the eyes of a 7-year-old and their innocence and their purity and stating who they are, then that becomes a lot more difficult to apply those ugly representations. So those children are really propelling our society to snap out of it. And it's painful. Some people just don't want to snap or unsnap. I don't know which the word it ought to be. And yet that's why in my opinion, that's why this conversation, this issue, this topic has become so elevated. And you know what? We have to hustle because these kids need us now. Their lives are at stake. They're not doing a long tortured journey like I did. I'm fortunate to be alive and standing here and having made it. They're articulating their gender identity at that 9 years old, like I was, and much earlier, many of them. So their innocence does not mean that they're naive to the world. They recognize, whether they can articulate it or not, they feel that resistance. And they are afraid to open their mouths at 4 or 5 years old. It is difficult. So it's okay to keep an ear open and to actually provide more room to have conversation about it. And here's the real deal, to be able to initiate those conversations for those kids, to be able to say, did you know that some kids have shadows that are purple? You know, did anybody not get a little touched by that? I'm busy up front, tears running down my face. And I find that as I move through this journey in this work world of mine, that I have to claim innocence again and again and again. I have to continue to search for it, because that's what helps me keep my heart open. That's what helps me find my personal joy in this life, even as complicated as it can be. So I have the opportunity to witness the transformations of these families, teachers, any number of people who are in the lives of these children, and watch personal transformations that, guess what, those people never thought they were going through. And it is foundation shaking and really powerful and brilliant. While it might feel scary at first, it's a really brilliant transformation that occurs. So let's see. I'm doing okay on time. Phew. That is not typical, just so you know. As I think about my work and my relationship to faith and my relationship to spirituality, it's been an interesting journey to figure out how to do this. And as I said, I've gotten some signs along the way. And I remember going to speak to one school staff training. And there was an older man who came up and he introduced himself and he says, yeah, I'm retired Air Force. And I'm busy thinking in this conservative community that I'm in and the retired Air Force, and I'm taking in his age, and I'm just wondering, you know, what is he going to express? He says, I don't even know what he said. He said something about, yeah, da-da-da-da-da, your work. He said, I believe you're doing the work of God. He and I both burst into tears. It was really, really powerful. At that point, I had a sense of that myself because of my own journey and my own negotiating the spirituality questions. I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I had never put it into terms like that. And there this stranger is right in front of me, retired Air Force, and I'm deciding what I want to decide about him. And he's telling me I'm doing God's work. These parents, when some of them do say themselves, or those in their lives will say God doesn't make mistakes, they return and they say, God doesn't make mistakes. God gave me this child so that I would step up, so that I would learn. This is my journey. That's a powerful and more accurate way to really consider that, yeah, God doesn't make mistakes. I'm thinking about one other time being able to step into a faith congregation. And, you know, it started out with a potluck, and then we were going to have a conversation. And so I'd forgotten, because it's not like church going has been a regular part of much of my adult life. But that before you eat, you often give a blessing of gratitude for the food. So this whole group circles up, holding hands, and the person leading the prayer says, and I want to thank you for the work of trans families, our organization, and continue to provide the support, encouragement, and whatnot that they need. I was grateful people's eyes were closed, because I never would have expected that anybody would say, bless the work of trans families. In my work, I often have conversations with people of faith, people with certain ways of defining their values, and people with certain perspectives politically can feel a lot of distress about gender conversations with, especially with children, and feel very deeply and viscerally that this conversation is absolutely wrong, that it is certainly not age appropriate, and that what they imagine is being discussed is actually quite different than what those conversations actually entail. And I will absolutely share a lot more about that in the workshop that we have later. But, Bible verses get pulled out. And I thought, well, I know some of those verses. I know some of those stories. And it's always in the context of sexuality. But what about gender? What does the Bible say about gender? And I just think, well, where do I hear any mention of transgender people? The only thing I've heard is the word eunuch. And there's a few verses in the Bible that talk about eunuchs. And, sometimes I pull one out. And so I'm going to share this one with you. It's Isaiah 56, verses 4 and 5. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant, even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. So, in closing, I'll just say that, as a matter of fact, I'm reminded of a person who was a little bit grilling me and talking about my relationship with God and how was I going to feel when was I prepared to basically meet my Maker? And I'll tell you what, when I meet my Maker, I am going to stand there and say, how did I do? And I know that I will hear, job well done. Thank you.
I second that, Aidan. Job well done. Please stand as you are willing and able to sing our closing hymn, number 354, We Laugh, We Cry, which you will find in our gray hymnal.
There's some
after the service is over today, please immediately exit through the foyer. You're encouraged to greet each other outside in the sunshine. Coffee and tea will be served outside in the breezeway between the two buildings. All of those who are attending from home or elsewhere are invited to greet each other during our virtual coffee hour on Zoom. The link to join is in this morning's email. The password is coffee, spelled with a capital C. If you're staying for Aidan's workshop, go ahead and get your coffee or tea and then come back on into the sanctuary about 11:45. We now extinguish our chalice with these words from Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living. Go in peace.